Chris, you were talking about trying to set rules of the road, if you will. The question is, can you really set rules of the road that can be followed in real time, given that this is a real-time medium?
Yeah, so I think this really gets to a really important point, which is that we really need to bring Silicon Valley and these digital platforms into the norms of regulation that we see in other technical sectors. So what I mean by that is when you look at standard practice in other sectors, testing of behaviors of new technical innovations is often a requirement prior to release into the public. And so when we look at the long-standing behavior of some of these algorithms to disproportionately preference disinformation, hate speech, et cetera, this should have been caught in some kind of due diligence process by these platforms. And so I think when we sort of ask the question, how can we regulate a technical sector, we do it all the time. And so just because it's at scale and it's in real time, that doesn't give these companies a pass to say, well, it's complicated, so we'll just leave it there. I mean, imagine if we let any other technical sector use that excuse. We wouldn't accept it.
But the entire business model is complicated, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to think technically how you could actually do it. Because it's one thing to regulate a media company, and the conversation we're having.
I don't think just because it's complicated is an excuse. These are companies which are making profit off of this really problematic business model and this problematic technical setup. And so just because it's complicated doesn't, I don't care if it's complicated. It has to be fixed. And my point to any of these companies, to that point would be, well, if it's complicated, why didn't you do testing prior to release into the public? Why didn't you do a diligent job at understanding what are the potential risks of harm that you may be exposing to individuals or society prior to release of these products?
Hey, Vivian, you've lived inside the belly of the beast, or maybe I should say the belly of the bird at Twitter. Does Jack Dorsey get it? And is it possible to do what Chris is recommending?
Well, yes, it is. It is certainly possible. These tech companies have some of the most brilliant engineers at scale in the world. So I think but I think we need to look beyond just the technical issues. Do the CEOs do they get what's going on? Yes, I without a doubt they get what's going on, and it's complicated because you can't disaggregate the impact on their commercial business models and the impact on their reputation and the risk of regulation, particularly with Democrats in the White House and controlling both houses of Congress. So yes, they get it. I think we're going to see serious action. We need to get past this current moment of emergency that's going to extend at least until the inauguration. But I also just want to raise a point. It's not just about the platforms. The bigger issue is the cloud computing companies and the app stores. That's a much bigger crisis to these platforms than just the individuals on them themselves. Well, that will put them out of business.
We've only got 30, Vivian, we've only got 30 seconds, but let me ask you about that, which is, do you believe that now has the responsibility, quote unquote, moved up the stack now that Google and Apple and AWS are having to effectively police the apps, and are they going to have to do that across the board?
Well, it's a moment of reckoning now. It's moving all the way up the stack, including to the companies that are deciding whether or not they're going to continue to put their ads, whether they're going to support politicians. This is really a moment of reckoning across the board that is going to have to come to some kind of resolution very soon.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.